You're probably a lot closer to connecting your arm and your body when you swing than you realize. How you set up your racket influences how you are able to connect your arm and body when you swing. How your shoulder moves influences your range of motion that you're able to perform with the swing. To improve the arm and body connection, think about having your hands first out in front of you, and now we are just going to push them to the outside. So now I'm having my palms go from straight in front of me to what is roughly that 45-degree angle away from me. So when we're going to set up for the swing, you're not thinking about getting the arm to just push back behind you right here. That's not really what this is about. This is about feeling what it's like to just open up your shoulders a little bit more. So we're opened up right here, and now we're getting to the end of our range of motion. So when we're at this range, so it doesn't have anything to do with me pulling my arm back more. It's just about me keeping this open more right here. So when I set up and I'm in this position now, when my body wants to swing, I am going to be moving from one position a lot more easily, as opposed to setting up and then still kind of allowing this arm to shoot back a little bit as I'm hitting. It's good that it's going to be falling back, and that's what we want, but we don't want it to be breaking and adding more variables as we're swinging. So that's why when you're here and you allow the palms to go out further away from you into that 45-degree angle, now when you set up, you're at the limit of your range of motion over here. So as you start your swing, now as the racket falls back behind you, there's not extra give that's going on. You're just able to take off from that one position and allow it to flow with your body. So hopefully that connects the arm and the body a little bit more. To build on this idea of opening up our palms a little bit more and getting ready so that we're going to be more connected with our arm, or so that our arm is more connected with our body when we swing, you can go and grab a rubber band. If all you have is a lighter one, that works, but I like this one to be more with a heavier resistance, because you want to just feel like your body's a lot more locked in as you're doing the practice of it. For this example right here, I'm doing it from a right-handed example, but to practice it, you can do it with both sides, because this can apply to both your forehand or your backhand side, and that doesn't matter if it's a one-handed backhand or a two-handed backhand. So you'd want to grab it with your lead hand. So if I'm a right-handed player, I'm holding it with my right hand, and I'm going to make sure that my palm is coming from underneath right here, or that my palm is going up to the sky when I'm grabbing the rubber band. I'm also trying to emphasize that the hand is staying roughly in the middle of my chest right here. So we're going to be creating resistance with the rubber band, and I don't want to feel like I'm allowing it to bend or get stretched too far away from me, or that I'm just pushing it with my arm and breaking my elbow to move it along. I'm trying to really stop the resistance of the rubber band, keeping my hand in line with the middle of my body. You're going to want to step out enough so that you feel resistance being pulled, and this is naturally going to be creating that load onto the back leg. So when you're thinking about your shot and you're loading on the back leg, it's like, what are you supposed to be feeling? So not just what are you supposed to be doing with your arm and the setup, but how is the weight distributed? How are you getting ready to get yourself to push forward and drive through that shot? So that's where it's important to not be so close to this that you can just be wherever you want with this. You want to step out a little bit so that it is creating that resistance that is putting you into a natural load onto the back leg right here. So the right hand is that idea of opening up the shoulder a little bit more, having the hand point away. And then with this left hand, I'm coming from underneath. So I want to come from underneath, and so I'm setting up over here, and I'm trying to emphasize the hand staying in the middle of my body. or the middle of my chest. So I'm setting up, and now as I create this load, it's being pulled back and I'm set up right here. So I would be hitting in this direction over here. The net, my opponent, is in this direction. So as I create this load, I'm ready to drive forward. And as I'm gonna try to drive forward, that's when I'm gonna allow the tip of the racket to fall back behind me. So I want it to be falling toward my backside. I'm here, and as I try to drive forward with my weight, I'm pushing off of that back leg, and I'm trying to emphasize this hand staying in the middle of my body as I am creating that initial load right here. So I'm here, and one of the things you're going to notice, or one of the things that's going to improve how you're initiating that body motion, is that you're not just turning across right here. Turning across is not going to do anything for this drill, and it's not going to do anything for your swing. So if you've ever swung or seen people swing and they're going like this and they're falling off the ball, it's easily identified that that's not a good shot, and you can see that they're not hitting it as hard as the effort that they're putting into it. So with this case right here, if I'm creating this load and I'm just choosing to fall back away, now this rubber band is coming tight into my body, and look at what happened to my arm. My arm is locked close to my stomach now. You don't want to be in this position. That's why you're creating this load, and as you're driving through, you're keeping this distance, you're keeping the hand still centered in with your chest. And as you're driving through with this, the rotation of your shoulders is staying in line right here. So my head is still, and I'm able to rotate through this position. And that's what's going to feel natural with the rubber band, as opposed to you setting up and then pulling across. So you want to be here, and as you're driving forward, you're keeping that shoulder angle the same, so that when you're here, you're learning how your body is loaded and how you're initiating that initial drive out of that position. The stronger that the resistance is on here, the better it is that you're just trying to lock in where this arm is. And the more that this arm is locked in, the more that your whole body is going to be locked in. So when I'm here and I'm trying to set, so I'm loaded, I have the weight being pulled back onto my back leg, and as I'm driving forward, another little aspect you could do is keeping this foot open a little bit more, or keeping your left foot open, the lead foot open a little bit more, so that your hips are going to be able to naturally rotate through that position a little bit easier. So I'm here, and now I am trying to keep this still, and I'm just getting used to that feeling of my whole body moving together on the swing. Because of the resistance, you're not doing the entire swing right there. It's just getting you the feeling of staying as a unit when you're swinging. And so this doesn't matter if it's a forehand, as I was setting up for a right-handed forehand, or if I was setting up for a two-handed backhand or a one-handed backhand. If I'm here and I want to do it as a two-handed backhand, I can still pretend like I'm getting into that same position, setting up, and then remembering that feeling that I had when I am letting this stay all as a unit, so I'm driving through my shot. Or if I'm setting up as a one-handed backhand, I am here, and what is this top hand doing? It's roughly in this same position as I'm setting up, and I'm getting used to how I'm loading on my back leg, and now coming from this underhand position to drive through it as a unit, and I'm able to drive through my shot. So it's all connected, whether it's a forehand or any type of backhand that you're hitting. So you want to remember to combine how you're setting up with your hands, which is opening up your shoulders a little bit more, and that locks your body, or it locks your arms into what your body position is going to be doing, and then tying it together with the rubber band, you're seeing how you're actually loading and able to drive through that as a unit. So when you're trying to expand what you're doing with the rubber band into your real shot, and you see the players set up and then they pull this arm through. If you're already starting to get used to how this is staying together and you're not opening up this shoulder too early, as you're setting up now, you can be here and you can just pull this arm back because you know that you're staying down with the shot. So sometimes they say to pull this or pull your lead arm aggressively to increase your rotational speed, as well as like using your body when you're doing it. But when you're increasing this rotational speed, you're able to swing a little faster, and hopefully you're staying a little bit more balanced as you're doing it. So remember, you're here and this is naturally kind of getting you underneath that shot right here. So you're setting up with this arm, and maybe your setup is, hopefully, most likely your setup is not fully underneath when you're setting up. You're seeing the pros having their arm out here, and then as you're coming through, that's where you are allowing this body transfer. The racket falls back and you can pull this arm to get out of the way and use your body on the swing. So if this is from a one-handed backhand perspective, then it goes right along with it, because you can feel yourself loading up and then how you're having to drive and stay with it. So if my backhand was a left-handed, one-handed backhand, I could be feeling myself loaded up onto this back leg, and I could still use my right arm to feel like my hand is opening up away, and it's not just what my hand is doing. My hand is only doing that because of what my shoulders are doing. So I'm not here and then just trying to turn my forearms or turn my wrists. There's nothing that's happening with my body. I'm trying to be here and have this be a result of what my shoulders are doing. So now this changes your setup so that you might naturally have the strings actually pointing behind you as you're setting up. So I'm here, and as opposed to me just thinking about something I need to do with my wrist or my forearm, it's a result of how my shoulders are opening up, better connecting with my body. And now as I swing, this is moving as a unit more easily. Back to the single-handed backhand, you would be here and keeping this hand in line with the middle of your chest, and you're trying to drive through it. So the more that you're feeling yourself just stay connected with that, the more that your body is actually transferring its weight through that shot. And now when we're moving into hitting, I actually like the next step to be with a basketball. And the reason is it's heavy, so you can't just swing and expect it to do something. You can't just think that you're gonna brush it and expect to do something. You have to know how you're approaching it and how you're able to throw the basketball. So the more that you're able to feel like you are connected and you're able to throw the basketball, the more that you're actually going to be staying down with it when you're actually swinging. And even though this doesn't look like we're trying to develop racket head speed here, the more that you're learning how to hold on to the ball and stay with it and throw it at the end of the swing, the faster your racket head speed is actually going to be when you are coming into it and accelerating through the ball. So that doesn't matter if it's a one-handed backhand or you're doing it on a forehand and you're coming through and this is accelerating through the contact zone, and the same thing for a two-handed backhand. You're staying with it and then it's accelerating through the contact zone. So when we're using the basketball, come at it with a slow approach, and this is not going to be how slow you're swinging in a real rally, but it does help you in a real rally to think about slowing down a little bit. And this is not for you to swing or hit slower. This is about kind of slowing your mind down a little bit so that you understand what you're doing as opposed to just reacting quickly and you don't really know what's going on. So if I'm doing a forehand, I can feel myself getting into this loaded position, getting the racket or getting my palm to face away because of what my shoulder is doing. And now as I have this load and I'm now able to drive through and throw the ball as opposed to just feeling like all I'm doing is tapping it with my racket. And like I said, this can apply to both the one-handed and two-handed backhand. So you want to feel like you're loaded and then you're holding on to that and allowing yourself to throw the ball. So here, and now I'm able to throw the ball, and that's getting easy power, easy depth when I switch to the regular tennis ball. In the two-handed backhand version of that is that you're setting up and you're able to stay with it and throw the ball to get that easy power and easy depth. With the two-handed backhand, I'm able to use that the offhand a little bit more to throw it, so there's a little bit more support on that. Hopefully these tips are helping direct your body and arm to be more effective to transferring your swing speed and your body weight through the contact zone. So remember, you're trying to open up your shoulders a little bit more, and this comes through and you're remembering what it felt like when you're holding onto that rubber band and trying to drive through it. So I'm here, and as that happens, you're trying to get used to how the racket is falling back. And just like the basketball, you're holding onto that a little bit longer to throw through it. When you're practicing with the basketball, make sure you approach the ball slowly. The last thing you want to do is come quickly and it's going to hurt your wrist or it's going to hurt your elbow. It could even hurt your shoulder. Slowly. You want to feel what it's like to just use your body and throw it. This isn't a tennis ball. You don't want to hurt yourself. You're feeling what it's like to use your body, and you're feeling what it's like to actually have the racket weight and accelerate through the contact zone, not get overexcited and try to do it too quickly. So the more that you're able to feel this connection with it, and now when you move forward with your swing, you are driving through it and able to throw it deep. So that's for forehands. That's for two-handed backhands here, throwing through, and that is for one-handed backhands where you're setting up, you're feeling how you're loaded, and you're driving through to lift and get easy power.